when I see kids stressed and confused by the world, there is a way out of that, and that's through knowledge and having a moral purpose. Did I like the razzmatazz of it all? Yes. Was it good for my ego and chasing girls? Of course. Was it ultimately a moral and good life? It was very interesting. I grew up in a village about an hour south of London, and during the 80s was dominated by Margaret Thatcher. It went from being more of a welfare state, especially in the 60s and 70s, to capitalism, and we had something called a yuppie, which is where you'd see a guy going around with a big brick mobile phone, a bit like the Wall Street guy, you know, Gordon Gekko. This idea of the state taking care of you and our national health service and everything else, everything started to be privatized. This idea that we had public goods like parks and healthcare and all the other services, transport, trains, we kind of assumed that the state would run it and you would have a job for life and that sense of security, and it disappeared in kind of the pursuit of wealth. And we looked over to America for our inspiration. It was a beautiful country to grow up in. Very lush, very green. Growing up in a village was different. There was still quite a distinctive separation of the classes. It's not like you see in the movies, the exaggerated upper class with a bowler hat and all of that, but it's still there. And I would work in pubs, or I would clean up gardens and houses of people who were lord and lady and never done a day's work in their life. And you just grew up with a sense, coming from where we did, that we were never going to go to Oxford or Cambridge. It happened to somebody else. And most people I knew, all of my friends and family, no one went to college. You were gonna be we call it dogging, working on the road. Soccer was often seen as like a route out. I was very good, but I knew in the back of my head and in my soul that I was never really good enough. What really changed for me was when I moved up north. I moved up there when I was 18, 19. You have two Englands. You have everything around London, and then you have the rest of Britain. And it's a different mindset and a different culture. And I found that very liberating. And I found myself and was able to be more creative and go into journalism and do more exciting stuff. And actually believe that I could do something with my life without living in the shadow of London. And a self-imposed restraint that I could never be somebody, because I grew up in the shadows of mansions and people who worked in the city and earned 200 grand a year. And during that time, Manchester had exploded and become like the coolest place pretty much in Europe at this point. This is off the back of Oasis and the kind of the Manchester rave culture. So to be in Manchester was an exciting time, and around Liverpool. So living up there was a buzz to it, and I enjoyed it. The first time I picked up a video camera, a friend of mine acquired a video camera, I'll leave it at that. Back in 1994, I was like 14. And I fell in love with everything, and I was like the only person who had a video camera. Also kind of working for my local newspaper and banging on the editor's door at like 16 saying, I want to write, I want to write, I want to write. It was also my escape out of the boredom and the for me, obvious inevitable poverty of living in a village. And I would watch TV and I'd watch American shows and I want some of this. When I was working on a commercial for selling couches. Hey, these are $399.99, available interest-free. When you're doing that, a part of your soul dies. It wore me out, and I knew that I really wanted to get into serious journalism and make a difference. But I also travelled to countries like Swaziland and Kenya, Peru, and saw a lot of poverty. I went out to India after the tsunami in 2004 and filmed some brutal stuff. And when I turned up with a video camera and I was swamped by people wanting to tell their story, showing me mass graves, showing me what the police brutality during that period, showing me people who had their land stolen when the huge wave returned. That's what compelled me to get out of the more popular end of journalism into hard news, if you want to call it. It's very easy to be very pious, and especially if you have an English accent, you can sound a little bit obnoxious too, and I try and dial that back because I think it's easy to come across as snobby if you're British. And also, I've travelled a lot and had a lot of experiences, and I don't want to say I've done this, because it's not about me, it's about kids' experiences. I do want to motivate them in a moral direction, but more importantly, I want students to think. I'm very happy for a student to disagree with other students or me or anybody, as long as they can defend what they think and that they are guided in a moral direction. I believe that teaching is a moral duty. We have more traditional words like mentor. I prefer that word. I would rather as a mentor, because then I feel like rather than me pulling you towards me, you push yourself.